We Are Many Things is brought to you by North York Community House. North York Community House is an organization that builds strong, resilient, and inclusive communities in Northwest Toronto. Hello, my name is Sharron, and I am the host of the podcast, We Are Many Things. And this series is premised on the idea that communities are not monoliths, that they are an amalgam of shared and varied histories, traditions, languages, experiences, and so much more. But the labels that are used to describe them rarely capture their greatness. So this podcast aims to create a space where members of various communities can explore their shared and varied experiences and what makes their community wonderfully unique. So this season, we'll be showcasing the richness and the diversity that can be found within the Black community. This is episode 3 of We Are Many Things, and we are joined by my guests Adyam, Casey, and Rickysha. The terms Black and Black community mean different things to different people. In this episode, we'll be exploring what those terms mean to us as individuals and if our understanding of those terms have evolved over time. I hope you enjoy the conversation. So, our community is often referred to as the Black community. And when you were growing up, what did that term mean to you, if anything? And has that meaning changed for you over time? What are your thoughts?
For me, growing up in the Jane and Finch community and hearing Black community was for funding purposes. It was stigmatizing, it had a negative connotation to it. It was just to get funding for our community. Although it did have some positives, it also did have some negatives. But it was just a stereotype that the community that I lived in. Now it has changed for me a lot because I could look at the Black diaspora and I could understand that terms are changing all the time. I'm able to embrace these terms and understand what it means as a person, and also celebrate who I am.
Growing up in Grenada, even though we had history classes and we talked about slavery and all these things growing up, because everybody looked like me, even though they might have different hair texture, they look like me, they sound like me. Black community wasn't a thing for us. Growing up, it was more about colorism, like in the family unit. If you're lighter, you get treated better. If you're darker, you're like, nobody likes you. They call you ugly. You have to do the chores that the lighter-skinned sibling, family member is not allowed to do. So you might have to go out and tie the animal or clean the yard, do all the laundry, while the lighter-skinned person stay inside. I'm going to also talk about my younger self. My younger self, Black, was a color. I didn't want anybody to call me Black. I was melanated or brown. Because even though brown is a color, my skin tone matched brown, not Black. So then I was really sensitive about being called Black. Growing up, Black community, it had a different meaning because it encompasses like all the shades, everyone. So when we talk about Black community, you talk about me, you talk about you, the person next to you, you know. Everyone has a little melanin in their skin, is Black. And in Canada and the Caribbean, I think Black community is totally different. Because even though back home you're really close and everybody like you don't hear people calling each other the N-word or stuff like that. Now, because of TV shows, movies, songs, and stuff like that, you might hear the language, you might hear the word, but we don't use that word to talk to each other or call each other that word. But in Canada, it's different. You know, you'll get a little snide comment here and there because like people like you or you people or them Black people, stuff like that. So in Canada and back home, the meaning of Black community is totally different.
Thank you for that. Adyam, what are your thoughts on that?
I haven't really thought about that term a lot, but I can say that I have always loved being Black. My dad's always, I'm mentioning my dad a lot because he's such an influence in my life. And my mom, of course. My dad has always told us to love what we are and how we are. But I think it has also been a struggle because there are some people, even back home, the lighter the better. Like, that's what the kind of narrative is. And I can't say that I've never wanted to be lighter. I have wanted to be lighter at some point, but now I've come to love my skin and how I look. And I think it's such a beautiful color that has a lot of background where people have hated it, have discriminated against. But now I think the term has changed, that it's such a beautiful term. And I love it. I love the Black community. I think it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
When we come together as Black people, as we refer to ourselves, it is such a beautiful thing because we see the different foods, the different cultures, the different expressions, how we talk, how we move, and we're like, whoa. We are originally from the same place, eventually, you know? But like, everybody have a little bit of each other's culture. And when we come together, it is like so beautiful. But one thing I don't know, maybe it's the naive or hopeful person in me, but I would like us to just be human. You know, how about we just be human beings? Because I think when we put a name on something, we separate it, like orange or apples or grapes or whatever. You know what I mean? So when you say Black or white, yes, we have different challenges, different experiences, different way of life sometimes. But I think when we come together, we're all humans, right? So I would like us for once to just be called or recognized as humans. Maybe it's just the hopefulness in me, but I would like it if we're all just humans.
I've always had an uncomfortable relationship with the terms Black and Black community because I felt that they were forced upon us and they didn't encapsulate all that we are, and which I saw as an example of injustice and another way for people to minimize and misrepresent our community. And so there's a history of disempowerment, mistreatment, lowered expectations, and disrespect. And these things, in my mind, were tied to those words. That being said, my thoughts and feelings have evolved over time. And I think that's because we have reclaimed those terms and we're changing and challenging their definitions and what it means to be of African descent. And the idea that Black is beautiful and that there are so many wonderful things that flow out of our community. For example, a history that is filled with activism, innovation, and creative expression, science, exploration, and firsts, etc. You know, we've given so much to humanity, and I love that fact, and I'm really proud of it. And for those reasons, those terms represent something more positive to me now. Casey, go ahead.
Now that I'm listening to everyone, and it's just me, but I'm really glad that I grew up in Grenada. Because the belief that I have right now, it made me so much stronger, I guess, because it was never like, if you're Black, you're nobody, you know? So it was that I was a person. So I'm happy that I grew up there and then moved to Canada and not the other way around. Because I think it instilled this confidence in me where I thought the experience I have, the people will be like, you cannot afford this, or you cannot be here because of what you look like and the color of of your skin. I still have that confidence in myself to say, okay, I won't be spending my money here, or I won't be supporting your business. So I'm really happy I grew up in Grenada and then moved to Canada and not the other way around.
I love the words like Black excellence, Black unity, people of color, Black diaspora, and so much more. These terms emphasize the global reach and interconnectedness of the various communities, as well as the beautiful range of skin tones and cultures within the Black community. And it's wonderful to see language evolving and reflect the richness and diversity of the Black experience.
Okay, that was really well said. No, I love that. No, and that's it. And I think that's the beautiful thing that the word has evolved. Yeah. The word has evolved, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And that's part of us, reclaiming it. Yeah. And then you make a good point in terms of being born elsewhere, because I think one of the things that I think that it's different now. But when I was growing up, I was lucky in terms of that we always had a positive self-image of, Black was beautiful and our culture was beautiful and the people who came into our house were beautiful. So that was a very positive thing. Yeah. But that was in conflict with the messaging that was going on outside of my household, where everything was saying actually the opposite. And even something as simple as, if you wanted to buy hair products, I couldn't go to Shoppers Drug Mart to get hair products. And even in school, like maybe I learned about a paragraph. What did they talk about in school? And in school at the time, you maybe learned about slavery, and it was maybe like a paragraph, and that was it, right? So there was a lot of negative messaging, which has, obviously it's still something that we're grappling with, but that has evolved because we have sort of reclaimed things and we are advocating for ourselves, always have, but things are changing in that way. So it's really great to see how how that word is evolving and how and what we are turning it into. This podcast is brought to you by North York Community House. North York Community House builds strong, resilient, and inclusive communities in Northwest Toronto. We help children, youth, parents, and seniors become active, engaged citizens who lead positive change in their neighborhoods. Find us at nych.ca. See you next time.